All right, good morning, Keller Williams, Milwaukee. Welcome to 2025. Thank you for all showing up here this morning in person and virtually to help us kick off another year. I want to thank you for bringing your energy and committing to another year together. I think this is going to be our best year yet. Are we ready to get started? Yeah? New year, but starting with the same mission, vision, values. I want to celebrate success through others here right away this morning and taking a look at, a lot of you have been asking for this, our collection of success from the last calendar year of 2024. So this graphic celebrates all of our combined success for KW MKE across all 5 offices. We sold last year over 2.2 billion in sales volume, 5,576 units, and over 1 billion in listings taken volume. Listings taken, you guys took 2,539 listings in the Milwaukee market, and you sold homes on an average days on market of 22 days per market versus the market average of 36, which is 38% faster than your competitors. Congratulations. Not only that, but we had 181 real estate associates join our squad last year. So welcome 181 new people to the squad. And we profit shared over $845,000 last year back to you guys in profit share. You're welcome, Andy Stillman. We are adding a few other things to this. We're adding our philanthropic amount that we gave back to our community and a few other statistics, but I know you guys have been excited to have this, so it's going to be available on the Leadership Hub today to share on social media, and we'll update that as we have more reports that come back from KWRI and some of your other successes. A lot of you had that success together. We'll be celebrating a lot of your individual successes. So save the date for our agent award ceremonies this year. Prestige, you'll be celebrating yours on February 10th at 1 o'clock at the Hot House Tavern. North Shore and Tosa, you will be February 11th at 10 a.m. at the Town Club. Southwest, your awards banquet is February 12th at 11 o'clock at Maddie's. And Lake Country, February 13th at Shaniqua. We will have more information and a way for you to RSVP and sign up coming up, but I wanted to make sure you guys had these dates on your calendars. Next, we're going to move over to Lindsey with Tech and Marketing.
All right, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Okay, so since it's the first team meeting of the year, I really wanted to dive into some of the resources that we have available. And for the most part, everything is going to be linked on our kwrealtymke.com website. So I'm actually going to take a moment to, okay. I'm going to go directly into our website and take a look at some of those resources because a lot of you, will have questions and it's kind of, sometimes hard to find certain things, but I want to just point out a few of these. So right off the bat, the homepage is going to be where you can find our training calendar. And this is going to be the most up-to-date training calendar at all times. You can always download this PDF. You can click to add the training calendar and all of the specific trainings to your own Google Calendar. But I also wanted to point out, if you click on the image, it's going to open up the PDF. And let's say you're trying to get into Tuesday's team meeting or contract training or tech and marketing training or any particular masterminds. Anything that is on Zoom will be clickable. It's a clickable link. So if you need to get into, let's say, contract training, and you'll notice all of the reoccurring trainings are on the right-hand side here. So I can simply click on contract training, and that's going to open up the specific Zoom link for contract training. So just wanted to point that out. You'll also see a locations tab. So this is great if anytime you need to reserve a conference room. It's going to also include all of the specific office information, like our address, phone numbers, emails, firm license numbers, things like that you can find directly on this locations tab. So you'll see every location with links to the specific conference room schedules. So we got Southwest. We also added in Prestige as well. So Prestige is now included on our locations tab with maps and directions to each office as well. In addition, the Agent Hub. So we've got it linked up here. It's also linked on the homepage, but every single one of you should have access to this. If you don't for some reason, you can click in here, request access, or reach out to me. I'm happy to make sure that you have access to this page because it is exclusive to our Keller Williams Milwaukee associates. You'll find the training calendar on here. This is also where you will find the Keller Williams Milwaukee listing network. So you'll of course get those emails from Willis reminding you to submit any of your excluded listings, single party, coming soon listings, buyer needs. But just know that that's always linked on here as well. And then this is also where you can find that listings report. Same thing for brokers opens. If you're looking for a W-9 form, a referral form, those are all linked on the miscellaneous forms link right here. Contract helpline numbers, if you need to schedule a tech and marketing meeting with myself or a tech meeting with Kathleen. And then everything else is going to be linked underneath. So office resources, we've got our team meeting slides. So these are always uploaded after every team meeting. If you need to get in touch with another KW agent, our office rosters are linked on here. Keller Williams logos, earnest money protocol. We have the business planning clinic workbook from back in October. That's linked on here if you want to take a look at that. We've got new associate resources, tech and marketing resources. The slide that Mandy shared earlier with the 2024 stats, we're going to be putting together some social media posts, and those are going to be linked under this marketing and social posts tab right here. Event resources, and if you need to get access to the Key Please app, that's all linked on here as well. Finally, I want to go into the Marketing Concierge. So this is also available, and anytime you need to request business cards, email signatures, you'll see everything linked on here, and you'll simply click on the image and that'll open up the request form. So you'll choose a template, you'll fill out your contact information, that request will come to us, and then we'll be in touch with you with those digital assets. So all of the digital materials are free, and then there are print options available as well. So you'll see all of those in here. Yard signs, listing and buyer presentations. So those specific statistics will be updated as well this week. So stay tuned for that. I know a lot of people have been asking. We'll also have an updated Community Pulse magazine coming later this month as well. New this year, we added a custom request button. So if you are holding a client event or you want to highlight your 2024 sales, anything like that that you may not see available with these previous options, feel free to submit a custom request. It's just going to take you to the form. You'll fill out the details for that custom request, and then someone from our leadership team will be in contact with you to kind of ask some more questions and make sure that we're designing something that you're looking for and that fits whatever you need. Finally, we've got at the very bottom, I just wanted to point out, we have our social media accounts linked as well. So if you want to view our Instagram, Facebook pages, LinkedIn, as well as our YouTube channel. So I want to specifically go into the YouTube channel here. And we've got everything linked in here as well. So if anything was on Zoom, it's been recorded and it's uploaded to our YouTube channel. So one thing I wanted to point out as well are the playlists. So these are really helpful if you're looking for something specific, whether it's a specific contract training or a team meeting. Those are all linked in here. So we've got tech and marketing training, team meetings, compliance and command, offer practice, all of these are in there. All right, so let me get back to the slideshow here. All right, so, oops, let's go back. All right, so I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. No. Okay, so I mentioned the customer request button is now available, but I just wanted to take a second to really thank you guys. We had over 1,000 submissions for the KW Marketing Concierge last year, so I really want to just take some time and thank you guys for utilizing it. We put a lot of effort into this, and we really want this to be leverage for you in order to leverage out us so that you can really focus on your business. And we love helping you guys and really helping you succeed in 2024. And we're excited to do the same in 2025. And we will be offering even more marketing options this year, so stay tuned. And then finally, tech and marketing training this week, we have no class. And just wanted to point out, because of Ignite, that time is getting switched to 1 o'clock instead of 11 on Thursdays. But we've got some various topics coming up starting next week. But just keep in mind, Thursdays at 1 o'clock instead of the previous time, which was at 11. So that's all available on the calendar as well. But that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsey, I'm going to switch it over to you, Steph, for some compliance updates.
Hi, good morning. Happy New Year from compliance. Okay, so Joni and I yesterday in contract training, you can go to the next slide, Mandy. We started the year off going over the code of ethics. So we thought we would take a few pieces from yesterday's training and bring it to today's team meeting. It seems like, we're introduced to the code of ethics in our pre-licensing coursework, when we sign up for the GMAR, we're mandated to take an ethics class, and it seems like the education on that kind of stops there. So it's good to revisit every once in a while, for sure. So as a reminder, the Code of Ethics is divided into 3 parts, 3 sections. So it defines our duties to our clients and our customers. Next section defines our duties to the public. And then the final section defines our duties to other realtors, our co-brokes, our colleagues, right? So next slide, Mandy. It was developed by the National Association of Realtors, but it is enforced through our local boards. So, 99% of us, that is through the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors, which they handle arbitration hearings. So that is if there is a dispute over commission. They intake ethics complaints. And then that complaint intake and grievance committee review, I really wanted to touch on this because I feel like there might be a lack of understanding with how this process works. Somebody from the public, a former client or customer, or another realtor, if they have a complaint to file, they would do that with the GMAR. But it doesn't go straight to an ethics hearing. First, there's what's called the grievance committee review. And that is made up of a panel of our peers. So for those of us who serve on the professional standards committee, they're looking at the complaints that have been filed, and then they're referring back to the code of ethics and ensuring that a standard of practice has been violated, right? So this really helps to prevent like frivolous complaints from being heard. So again, we both, Joni and I really wanted to make sure that people had that understanding of that process, because it just seems like, of course, complaints could be filed, all day long, but there is kind of like a checkpoint system, which I think is really, really great. Then from there, if the grievance committee review deems that a standard of practice has been violated, then from there, the receiving party would be notified. They would have a chance to respond. From there, there is still an opportunity to get it worked out prior to going to an ethics hearing. If it does go to an ethics hearing, then again, the complaint is heard among a group of your peers. So again, for those who are serving on the professional standards committee. Next slide, Mandy. And then this is just a screenshot of the GMAR website. So if you do want to go through the code of ethics, right there at the top, you could be brought to a PDF of the entire code of ethics. Again, it's divided into those 3 sections. From there are a series of articles, and then it's further divided into the standards of practice that support those articles. You could learn more about the arbitration process, defining what procuring cause is. And one thing that we was really eye-opening for me in terms of procuring cause is, it's definitely not black and white. So it was really helpful for me to understand what that definition was. So if you have any interest, if you don't, though, of course, if you do need to file a complaint, if you've received a complaint, if you feel that there is a procuring cause issue, for example, you're going to come to Joan or Andrew or myself, and we'll, that's part of our job to serve in that capacity and to help support you guys through that process. So you are definitely not alone in that. Okay, then next slide, we thought we would take a few, throughout the year, Joan and I are, going over pointed messages in terms of, serving outside of our marketplace, or, just reminding everybody that we are not attorneys. And I just wanted to pick out the articles that support those messages, right? So Article 11, realtors, and I'm just going to go straight to the highlighted piece here. Realtors shall not undertake to provide specialized professional services concerning a type of property or service that is outside their field of competence unless they engage the assistance of one who is competent on such types of property or service. So, when we get those questions from agents who want to, service a property up north, or maybe help on a deal or assist a client on a big commercial property, or vacant land, our first question is always going to be, are you the best person to help service this, right? We don't want to inhibit anybody, but we also need to be asking these questions in terms of our competence, and making suggestions on having to call on somebody else to assist, whether that's like a direct referral, or just aiding or like partnering with you in the process. So again, we're pointing back, and we are helping to uphold these code of ethics when we ask these questions. The next one, Mandy, Article 13. So realtors shall not engage in activities that constitute the unauthorized practice of law. So again, we're not attorneys. We cannot give legal advice. There's many checkpoints, throughout our contracts, throughout our disclosures, that make it very well known that we cannot give legal advice. So I don't have concern about messaging to our clients on this, but we just want you guys to hear that, if there is a post-close issue, that you're making sure that you're coming to Joan or Andrew or I first thing. We do need to know about it immediately, to help you through and help communicate to the client, and then also get in touch with our own attorney when we need to, straight away. So then lastly, Article 15. This is not one that we've ever like specifically pointed to, but Joan brought this up yesterday during our contract training, that this is just a good reminder that the code of ethics surrounds, standards of practice just like this. So realtors shall not knowingly or recklessly make false or misleading statements about other real estate professionals, their businesses, or their business practices. What we want you to hear through this is like, KW, we're awesome, we're getting bigger. People are going to use any kind of excuse or any way that like to file complaints against us potentially. And these are the kinds of things that we just don't necessarily think of. So, when you're out in the marketplace, you know, we don't have any specific examples of anybody doing it, but just as a reminder that, you know, policing false or misleading statements made about other real estate professionals is in the Code of Ethics. So we just want to remind you guys of that. Yeah, so with that, contract training for January. So next up, Monday, the 13th, Joan's gonna go over fair housing. We're not doing anything on MLK Day, and I think the office is closed that day too. And then on the 27th, we're moving our compliance in command training. Lindsey and I typically do that once a month on a Thursday, but we're gonna do that on a Monday this year, again, in line with Ignite. So we're on Zoom through the kwrealtymke.com, as Lindsey just pointed out, and find us there 12 p.m. on Mondays. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Steph. All right, jumping over quick to education and events. Just a reminder from the MCA's office, if you did move in 2024, your physical home and where you live, please notify them. I know Charlie sends his Christmas cards out to all your current addresses and he got a lot back. So if you did move, please let the ladies in the MCA's office know so they can help you with all of your documents you're going to need for tax time. Lindsey pointed out the January training calendar, a few highlights. This Thursday, January 9th, you have an opportunity to learn from both Stephanie Minnick and Scott Kloss all around budgeting. It's a great time of year to be looking at your budget, thinking about your spending for the next year. There is a beginner class at 1 o'clock and then an advanced class at 2 o'clock. You're welcome to attend both. They will be recorded and uploaded, but I think your best bet is to show up live and be able to ask questions and interact. These two individuals are fantastic teachers, so appreciate them pouring into us on budgeting. Next up, we have a blood drive that's happening. Please feel free to share this with your spheres, with your network as an opportunity to reach out to them. The blood drive is taking place at the Southwest office on Wednesday, January 29th. From 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock. You do need to register for a time slot. So feel free to take this from the slide deck on the website, share it out with your group. It's a great touch for a way to give back that doesn't cost any money for an event. Then we are headed to Vegas in February for family reunion. So this is coming up quick. I know I looked at the list this morning. A number of you are registered, so I'm really excited about that. If you are thinking about family reunion and you're not sure what it is, let me know. I'm happy to connect you with someone that's been in the past to learn a little bit more and info gather on if you think it's the right event for you. Next up, I want to spend a little time talking about Ignite. We've mentioned it a few times this morning. It is my absolute favorite class we do, and I love when we do it in the winter because a lot of you are really slow right now and you have the time to show up for 3 hours a day, 3 days a week to learn from some of the best people in the business for free. I looked this morning, we have over 55 people registered for Ignite this year, which means you guys are looking for the accountability and the training. It is a great way to get into production right away. It's all about skills, mindset, activities, a lot of new instructors on here. So it's different every time we do it. A lot of you who are registered are cappers, and I'm excited to see that you guys are looking to pour in Ignite. I went one step further. I invited the first 4 instructors to just really quickly jump on and say one thing that you can learn by attending their class if you want to pick and choose a few to come to, and also going to ask them one thing that they're going to start or stop or continue doing in 2025 versus last year. So Emily Fair is first. She's doing Ignite Your Real Estate Career. Hers is tomorrow. So come tomorrow to learn from Emily. I'm going to start actually with Nicole, who's doing session 2 on Thursday. Nicole, if you can pop on and just let people know, what is it that they're going to learn and take away from your session on Thursday, Money Matters?
Well, good morning, all my friends. I hope you guys are doing well and starting your 2025 off great. Money matters. And on Thursday, we're going to go over the 3 basic rules for money and how we can start creating wealth. So I know there's, what am I going to take away from it? And it really just depends on where you're starting. So we're going to talk about creating a budget. We're going to talk about eliminating consumer debt. We're going to talk about savings. We're going to talk about building wealth. And depending where you are in that kind of phase of things. The one thing that you might take away is creating a more granular budget, which I definitely recommend Steph and Scott's Budget Mastermind. Even if you can't do it live, start watching those recordings. Consumer debt might be where your opportunity is. Is interest working for you or is it working against you? And how can we be on the right side of that? So it really, like I said, it just depends on where you're at with that.
Great. What's one thing, Nicole, that you're gonna start, stop, or continue doing this year that you did last year?
So when it comes to finances and money, because I've been going to the budget masterminds with Scott and Stephanie, I've got a really good handle on my budget for my business, which means that I'm profitable in my business. And I am not on the right side of interest. So one of the things that Chris and I are working on is eliminating our interest for our mortgage. And we are on a plan to get that paid off in the next year.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Willis. Thank you, Nicole. All right, I'm going to
You're
jump
welcome.
over
I hope to see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks. Dan and Sherry Wild, who will be teaching Monday morning. They will be talking about how to reach and engage with your market. Good morning, Dan and Sherry. What can agents expect to get from your class on Monday morning?
Good morning, everyone. Happy 2025. We did it. We're here. So our session is all about engaging with your market. So we kind of look at this job as it's just to remind people that this is what we do and how we can help them. Sure, there's the whole real estate side of like showing houses and writing contracts and offers and whatnot. But every single day, it's like engaging and acting and making sure that people know this is what we do. And so our session is going to be all about how do we continue the touches? How do we go to the parties? How do we, tell people, remind people that that's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you. What's one thing you're going to start, stop, or continue doing this year?
So what we're going to, one thing, you want one of each? I can do
No, just one.
What's our number one? Probably time blocking, right? We've been doing this. This is we're coming up on our 5th year in March. Time blocking, they talk about from day one, time block. And it's the one thing that I think because we don't do it very well, and I think a lot of people don't do it very well. Let's be honest here, right? We are all we're reactionary. We want to help these people. When something comes in, we go, and so having the discipline to time block, that's really the thing that we really want to, we think we can find salvation through time.
You can do it. Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Sherry. We'll see you guys on Monday. And then session 4 is with Mackenzie Brogan. Mackenzie, what can people expect to get out of your session next week, Wednesday, on your value, your blueprint?
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be teaching Ignite again. This is a new session for me, but it's all about, creating what is your value blueprint. So what is your value proposition? What makes your business unique compared to, all the other realtors out there? How can we hone in on your skills and reflect that in your business with your branding and your tagline and tie it into Keller Williams and all the values that we share as a brokerage. So we will be brainstorming, and then there'll be some workshop time for you to think about, your past and your experience and how to reflect that in your business. So I will be tying in branding. And that kind of also is what I want to continue in 2025. Last year, I started to connect with more local businesses in the Lake Country area, which is my focus, and especially family-oriented content. And I started that this past fall, and I found a lot of success and just joy of connecting with local businesses and seeing what makes their branding strong, and then learning from them outside of real estate, turning it to my business and strengthening my business from them. So I want to continue that this year to partner with local businesses, highlight them, and learn from them.
Awesome. Thanks, Mackenzie. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
All right, guys. So Ignite starting tomorrow. It's not too late to register. And if you just hear one of these topics that seems like something you should be plugging into, come to the ones you want to come to. Don't come to the ones you don't. And feel free to bring guests or co-brokes or people who you think might find value in this to help grow your profit share for next year as well. All right, switching over into new year, new goals, and building lasting habits. We spend a lot of time in December and January talking about goal setting. Goals, goals, goals. Are we sick of talking about goals? Anybody? We all set our goals. We talk about big goals, smart goals, all about goals. I think one thing that we don't talk enough about is the habits that help us get to the goals. And it's never a Tuesday meeting with me without a little story time. If you've been here a while, you know this. I do have a 1 and 3-year-old, so I'm very comfortable with story time. A lot of us grew up learning the story of the Good Samaritan. It's a story from the Bible that talks about a traveler who's attacked and left injured by robbers until he is then rescued by a Good Samaritan. So in 1973, Princeton did this experiment, and they conducted it within their theology school, and they titled this experiment the Good Samaritan Experiment. In this experiment, they brought in a bunch of theology students, and they taught them the story of the Good Samaritan. They then said, all right, now that you're all familiar with this story of the Good Samaritan, we're going to break you into smaller groups. We're going to send you out to different buildings and dorms all across the campus, and you're going to teach the story of the Good Samaritan. So they broke into their groups. They started talking about how they were going to do this and how they were going to deliver the presentation and so on and so forth. So they sent the first group off. They said, all right, go ahead, go teach it to the girls' dorm. Then the second group, they said, they did something a little interesting and a little different. They said, all right, you're going to go teach this in the school across campus, the building across campus, but you're already running late. They're expecting you in 5 minutes. It's probably going to take you 10 minutes to get there. So like, you better get going. So they sent this group of students off, and little did they know that they had hired an actor to play someone injured on their route to give and deliver this presentation. So they're all running behind, and there's this man laying on the ground, and he's crying out in pain, and he's injured, and he's wailing, and he's hurting, and every single person in the group walked past this person in need to go deliver a presentation on helping someone in need. One person even climbed over this actor to go deliver the presentation on helping someone in need. Pete said it must have been a realtor. It's possible. Theology student. So the point of this, and the point that this experiment makes, is the danger of being goal-focused and goal-oriented. These people had a goal, right? To deliver a presentation. They were so one-sided, so narrow-minded in thinking about their goal that they missed the bigger picture and the bigger perspective of what they should have been doing in the first place. So I think this can really be the danger when we are going into the new year, and so many of us are so focused on our new goal and our big thing that we want to hit, that I want to encourage you all to step back and really think about the habits that you're going to put in place in order for you to hit those goals. So if you're a coach, your goal is to win a championship, but your system or your habits are what your team does at practice each day. Think about a writer. If you're a writer, your goal is to write a book, but your system and your habits are writing a schedule that you follow each week. Same with you guys, being an entrepreneur, your goal could be to make $1 million business or a $10 million business, but the system is the sales and marketing process that you have. The system and the habits are what are going to drive the results. So having goals is great. Don't get me wrong. Having a vision is really important. It's important to know where you're going and where you're headed, but it's important to have some clarity and focus to know what's going to move you in that direction. So once you have a goal and you write it on paper, it makes very little difference. On the flip side, committing to the systems and those habits and showing up every day is going to drive a lot of the results. So your goals are the destination, your volume sold, your units sold, your clients added to the database. First, what I really want you to think about and write down are, what are your habits and your systems? How many daily phone calls are you going to make? What does your disciplined follow-up system look like? What is your structured planning or your time blocking looking like? A lot of this comes back to a book that most of you have probably heard of or maybe read. If you haven't, I'd pick it up. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I'm going to play a quick video where he's going to talk about the importance of this.
The story is about Team Sky, which is Great Britain's professional cycling team. Sometime in the mid-2000s, around 2010, they hired a man named Dave Brailsford. And at the time, Team Sky had a very middle-of-the-road record when it came to performance on the world stage. They had won about 1 gold medal in the last 100 years, from 1908 to 2008. They had never won a Tour de France, the premier event in cycling. And when they hired Dave Brailsford, they said, we would like to change this. We'd like to improve our performance. We'd like to reach a higher level of performance. What's your plan to help us do that? And when they hired Brailsford, he said, I have this strategy called the aggregation of marginal gains. And the way that he described it was the 1% improvement in nearly everything that you do. And so they started by looking at a lot of things you would expect a cycling team to look at. They improved their bike tires, made them slightly lighter. They put a more ergonomic seat on the bike. They had their riders wear biofeedback sensors so they could see how each person responded to the training and practice that they did each day. They had their outdoor riders wear indoor racing suits because they were lighter and more aerodynamic. But then they did a variety of things that you wouldn't expect a cycling team to do. They split tested different types of massage gels to see which one led to the best form of recovery. They taught their riders how to wash their hands to reduce the risk of infection and keep them healthy. They even figured out what kind of pillow led to the best night's sleep for each rider and then brought that on the road with them to hotels. So Brailsford said, if we can actually execute on this strategy, if we can aggregate all these small changes, these little 1% improvements, then I think we can win the Tour de France in about 5 years. He ended up being wrong. They won the Tour de France in 3 years, and then they repeated again the 4th year with a different rider. And then just last year, they won for the 3rd time in 4 years. And Brailsford's strategy really came to fruition at the Olympics in London in 2012, when they won 70% of the gold medals available. And so what I'd like to start us off with is the idea that small improvements actually can add up to a very significant change in a relatively short period of time. And this is just basic math, all right? If you get 1% better each day over 365 days, you end up 37 times better at the end of the year. If you get 1% worse, you take yourself almost all the way down to 0. Now, you might say, okay, well, 1% improvements are nice, but clearly no one is going to get 1% better every single day. So is that ever enough to accumulate to anything, considering that we're not going to be perfect all the time? And I would argue, yes. In fact, you can get 10 times better if you get 1% better 5 days a week, 46 weeks a year, so it's about 230 days in total. That gives you 6 weeks off for holidays, illness, laziness, and just generally not getting things done. But you're still 10 times better at the end of the year. And what I would like to propose is that the way to do this is not by setting better goals for ourselves or at our organizations, but by building better systems and obtaining better habits. In fact, you could say that the goal had never changed. They wanted to win a Tour de France each year. They wanted to win Olympic gold medals. It wasn't the goal that made the difference. Instead, it was their system, the way that they applied those improvements in a 1% basis day after day.
Right, so the good news here,
The story is about Team Sky.
you don't need to change your goals. You just need to reevaluate your habits and your systems. So one thing he said that I really loved is we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems and our habits. So he talks about in the book 4 different things to really look at to build smart habits and systems. He talks a lot about the change in physical environment. So what's on your desk when you're working? What's sitting on the kitchen counter? What does your environment look like to keep you productive and making good habits? What does your social environment look like? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are the habits that they have? And what does your tribe look like that you're working around and with? He then talks about the approach, the habits you're asking yourself to do that. Dan kind of hit on this. Your approach. What's your time blocking look like? What's your calendar look like? Are you setting this up to do your habits in the morning, or are you doing them at night when you're tired? And then your strategy, selecting a strategy that fits with your makeup and your personality and circumstances so you can match your environment to your natural strengths. This I heard Mackenzie speaking about loud and clear. Her strategy is to do something that fits in really well with her. She's meeting local businesses and talking to them, and it's comfortable for her and it feels good, and she's found success in her business. So what's your strategy that feels good and feels like you so that you're going to be set up to hit your goal? Your goals should be just a byproduct of you doing good habits and setting good habits. So my challenge to you today on January 7th is to, instead of looking at sharpening your goals, to instead go back and look at your habits and look at what you can do to make yourself just 1% better each day. And that's what we have for team meeting today. Jay, yes.
Shore West, $2 million. It's pretty fantastic. 11 to 12:30, she said.
Okay, Jay was just talking about some brokers opens. I did look at the sheet this morning. There's 5 brokers opens and 4 are KW. So take a look at that broker sheet. Jay, can you tell me again, the one that's not on there is 5431 Diversey in Whitefish Bay is open for brokers tour today from 11 to 1. I know Falk Reuben Gallagher has one. I know Lauren Siegel has one. So take a look at that sheet, get out, get on tour, and we'll see you all tomorrow at Ignite. Thank you and Happy New Year.